This year, Infoblox is celebrating Black History Month by recognizing the role that HBCUs play in creating Black excellence. We know that HBCUs, while representing less than 3% of colleges and universities, graduate 42% of African American engineers and 50% of all Black professionals.
It is my honor to welcome Wendy Raquel Robinson and Lance Gross to this event celebrating HBCU excellence. As actors, activists, and advocates for education, these two individuals have dedicated themselves to supporting historically Black colleges and universities, recognizing the crucial role these institutions play in shaping the minds and futures of so many young people.
I was accepted to UC Irvine out here and a couple of the other UC campuses. And I went and toured the campus and I just didn't feel a sense of connection. And I was working with my college counselors and they were throwing everything out there. And he asked me, well, what do you want to do, for your career? And all I had been doing was theater and dance and all of that. And I said, that's what I want to do. He was like, well, why don't you check out Howard University? Because some of their alumni include Debbie Allen, Felicia Rashad, Roxy Roker, from the Jeffersons. And it just went on and on, Roberta Flack. And I said, it was a no-brainer for me. I had never been to the East Coast, had never toured the campuses. I didn't know what I was getting into. So needless to say, I had a culture shock, but it was the best choice for me based on the alumni that had come out of there. And I was fortunate enough to train. And, there was Anthony Anderson in my class. There was Taraji P. Henson, who was right under me. There was Paula J. Parker, Isaiah Washington. At that particular time, we didn't know who was going to be what, but we were serious and we were all in this, I want to say it was like a wonderful bubble, So look at the alumni, and the fruit that institution bears. And if it's something that resonates with your spirit and with your soul and is in alignment with what you want to do, then by all means, absolutely go for it.
I knew I wanted to go to a HBCU, but I was also being recruited for track and field. So I pretty much toured every HBCU there is. But when I stepped on the campus of Howard University, I knew that was the place for me. And, I grew up on A Different World. So that was my favorite show. So I just knew that I wanted that HBCU experience. I mean, it's just different where the faculty, the professors, they take you under their wings and they care. And like being on a HBCU campus, it's kind of like a daily affirmation that you're surrounded by greatness. And that's what they prepare you for. So I just think it's a totally different experience being at a HBCU, and it's one to consider.
Just to mention some for the crowd, like Toni Morrison went to Howard. Alicia and Debbie, Taraji, you've mentioned, Samuel Jackson, you've mentioned, his wife went to Spelman, LaTanya Jackson, Spike Lee went to Morehouse, Oprah, Tennessee State, Yolanda Adams, Texas Southern, Will Packer, Florida A&M, and so much more. And so it is interesting, really, particularly even at Howard, how many of our basically Black royalty did attend HBCUs. And so how did Howard specifically prepare you guys for an acting career?
We didn't have all of the bells and whistles. We learned how to pivot. We learned how to adjust, and we learned how to navigate in a system that wasn't necessarily, I want to say it didn't provide everything that we needed in terms of all of the resources. It was rich in other resources for me. So it had us think outside of the box at such an early age, and just to know that the word for the day is adjustment and you make it work. And I've taken that with me through life. It was one of the greatest life lessons that I've learned.
When I was at Howard, it was super dope because my professors were kind of leading by example, where they were shooting, like a lot of my professors were actually going off and shooting episodes of The Wire. And that was, for a young kid, that inspires you, they're really out there doing it. So that was a different type of motivation for me.
I was doing theater with Kim Bay
Wow.
at a time when I was there. So it's also that, like you said, they were all working artists in their right mind. So we weren't just there by ourselves with the practicums of, having to do the lighting, having to do the sound, having to do the plays, but they were right alongside us. And the passion
Mhm.
was just, it's unspeakable.
They just gave you room to create and explore who you are and what you would capture. And it was an amazing experience for me.
Mhm.
How important are the arts for youth and why? Wendy, you want to start with that?
I will. You know, we're living in a very interesting time, and I call it a post-COVID era where I've seen so many people. It wasn't necessarily what COVID did, it was the aftermath of the mental as well as the emotional and social demise on a lot of our young people. They were really taking it hard. And what I've also seen is how the arts just cracks open that passion and self-love and discovery and self-esteem that is really necessary for youth. You know, whether they want to do it for life or if they want to do it on stage, it just gives them the confidence and the self-belief and the self-love that they really need, and to be passionate about the things that are in life. And I found that not only for myself personally, but I found it in also a lot of the young people that I work with.
You know, I grew up as a shy kid and the arts saved me. It was kind of like my vehicle to just, it was my release. I mean, it breathes life into humans and we need an escape. And that's what the arts are.
Great conversation, folks. Thanks so much. Very proud of your stories, your legacy, your journey, sharing the message around what happens through the HBCU experience, that it really is an American story. Our story is American history as well. And the ability to share that story with our larger team was a very proud moment today.